And welcome into Burgess Snowfield at Jacksonville State University. It's the 2016 Calhoun County Spring Jam. We got another day of football, our final day of spring football here on TV24. And our first game here today is between the Sachs Wildcats and the White Plains Wildcats. Welcome into the booth alongside John Holder. I'm Chase Robinson. And John, as we talk about this game right here, Sachs filling a lot of holes and White Plains really looking for an identity this season.
And this is going to be the same situation we had in our first game on Thursday. We have two teams squaring off with each other that are in the same region. They were in the same region last year. They'll be in the same region this year as they'll be playing each other for a game that counts as far as the region standings go in Class 4A Region 5 coming up this fall. So the coaches don't expect them to show a whole lot here. They don't want to put a whole lot, I'm sure, on film here in the spring to show everything that they've got, especially against a region opponent here. And I see some other coaches here that are scouting and so forth. But at the same time, you got so many new players on both sides, for both White Plains and for Sachs. So many new players that have really never seen much game time experience that the coaches really is valuable to throw them out there in this atmosphere here at JSU Stadium to see what they do, so to speak, when the lights are on in a real game type atmosphere.
And for White Plains, they had one win last season under Coach Chris White. What are they going to have to do today kind of to prove themselves?
You know, they're a team now that should be used after a couple of years, used to being in the 4A competition. They'll be in 4A again. I think it's just taking that next step of building the program. I think what you need, last year the one win they had was against a county team in Pleasant Valley, at Pleasant Valley, but that was not a region game. I think what you're looking at, if you're White Plains, they've been close in some games over the last 2 or 3 years. You're looking at that game, I kind of liken it to Cherokee County last year when they beat Jacksonville. That was kind of a game that put the program kind of over the hump. And I think that what Coach White is looking for is that signature win. We can call it that. That win maybe in region play, one of those games that you win that you're not supposed to win. That's what they're probably looking for coming up this fall.
As you saw the coin toss there, White Plains will receive the ball, and we'll get things underway again. This is our first game of the day. Coming up after this one, you'll see Pleasant Valley take on Pisgah. And then, John, we've seen a great week of high school football this week.
We really have. We had some great games, saw some great talent here on Thursday night. We mentioned that game where Ohatchee really showed us a lot, kind of pulling a mild upset over Walter Welber. And then Alexandria, despite losing some great players from last year, Alexandria looking really strong against Weaver here on Thursday night as well. We did not play yesterday because of the fear of rain. It turned out to be a wonderful evening, but the forecast going in was for a 90% chance of rain and maybe a few strong thunderstorms. So they moved those games till today, and we'll have Pleasant Valley and we'll have Pisgah coming up at about 3 o'clock, about 30 minutes or so after this game concludes today.
Well, we got some great football on tap today here in the Calhoun County Spring Jam, and we're about to get things underway here between White Plains and Sachs, the Wildcats. Both teams the Wildcats, so we'll have to refer to them as the school name. And again, like I mentioned a few minutes ago, White Plains will be receiving the ball. Sachs will kick it off.
Beautiful day here at JSU Stadium. We've got a lot of folks that have come out. We've got the, don't see the White Plains band here, but we have the Sachs band out in full force. Both sets of cheerleaders are here. Pretty good crowd here, so if you want to come out, still a great afternoon of football. Fans continue to come in. No chance of rain whatsoever in the forecast today, and we'll have a high reaching up to around 80 degrees this afternoon. That's just about perfect weather for some spring football. 2 more games, the last 2 games of all the 5 days of spring football we've had here at JSU, and that's a good kickoff right there all the way into the end zone to kick off the game.
Anthony Corneo from Sachs kicked the ball off to start the game, and it'll be White Plains setting up on offense to begin this game here. White Plains will go into their huddle, led by quarterback Blake Rozelle in the number 6 jersey. Rozelle pitched the ball to Alex Howard. Get back to the line of scrimmage on that play.
I might be wrong, Chase, but I think we will be very shocked if we see any trick plays or anything outlandish. Have to keep in mind, because of the new practice rules in the spring, most of these teams only have about 10 days, and this counts as one of the 10, and then you have to have about 3 days of conditioning. So really, at the most, these teams have put in about maybe 6 days in full pads. Just not a lot of time to run the offense. Coach Scott Martin of Ohatchee said the other day, we ran the same play, same formation, maybe not the same play, the same formation all day long.
Another handoff to Howard. Howard picks up about 3 on that play.
And one of the things that Sachs coach Jonathan Miller is known for is defense, and in his tenure there, heading into his 5th year at Sachs, that's one of the calling cards we've seen from Sachs. They've had a lot of great offensive players, but defense is the calling card at Sachs. And here we go. 2 plays, 2 rushes by White Plains, and 2 yards. That Sachs defense looking strong again.
3rd down and 8 for the White Plains Wildcats. Rozelle back to pass. He scrambles, puts it up. Pass there to Jalen Jackson is good. He'll get down to about the 23-yard line.
Huge play for White Plains, and just a breakdown in the secondary. I think when he fumbled that snap and picked it up, it kind of threw off the Sachs defenders a little bit, and they lost Jackson completely. Look at that. Jackson is about 10 to 15 yards behind everybody. No one from Sachs even knew he was there until the ball was already up in the air, and you see the excitement on the White Plains sidelines. A big, big play, but it looks like we've got a penalty flag all the way back at the 25-yard line. Chase, it is going to bring that back, and that is going to throw a big cup of cold water on that excitement on the White Plains sidelines.
Quick spark of hope for White Plains, but there was a flag back on the 25-yard line.
Looks like a holding call, and that is indeed, as you see the call from the official there. So instead of going all the way down inside the Sachs 30-yard line, they're going to be backed up now just inside their own 15-yard line. A huge turn of events. That's going to wind up being about a 60 or 65-yard penalty.
Still 3rd down for the White Plains Wildcats. Snap to Rozelle. Hands off to Howard. He'll pick up a few on the play.
Alex Howard, a rising senior, has been the workhorse. Carried the ball 3 of the 4 plays for White Plains. If you joined us last weekend, the Jamboree games we had here at that point in time, there was no live punting in those games. They just would move the ball 35 yards down the field. This will be a different rule here in the Calhoun County Spring Jam. There will be live kicking until we get to the 4th quarter, and that does include punts. So this will be a live punting situation. And we mentioned only about 6 days of practice as far, well, 10 days technically, but 6 days in full pad practice. Sometimes kicking in the spring can be an adventure. We'll see what happens on this first punt here by White Plains.
Punt up from Dakota Abramski.
Jonathan Cobb, just a freshman. He will be a 10th grader in the spring, but I should say in the fall, but that's going to be a fairly short kick and excellent field position for Sachs. They are missing a lot of talented players off this offensive side of the ball. A lot of the household names, Pigskin Roundup all-star players that are gone, but as we've seen from Sachs over the years, Chase, they seem to reload. They seem to always find capable replacements that step up.
Sachs turn on offense now as quarterback Bell goes to the air. Pass intended for Brent Clark. Falls out of his hands there. It'll be 2nd down for the Sachs Wildcats.
And over the last several years, there's really been a prototype on the physical attributes of the quarterback at Sachs. And I'm telling you right now, what Derek Bell, a rising junior, he looks like all the great Sachs quarterbacks we've seen over the last 6 or 7 years.
Snap to Bell. He'll hand off this time to Roderick. Ball on the ground.
That looks like Jalen Jackson again over there. Was that Jackson that recovered that, or actually maybe Garrison Abbott over there recovering that ball for White Plains?
So the White Plains Wildcats will quickly take back over on offense. We saw the long pass to Jackson earlier, followed by a penalty, though, that brought them all the way back to their own 15. So let's see what the White Plains Wildcats can do here again on offense. Quick handoff there to Peyton Morgan. They'll lose about a yard on that play.
Was Jackson on the fumble recovery. He's had by far the two biggest plays of the game for White Plains, with a big pass reception that was waved off, but then that big fumble recovery which stood. But that is a great example of why Sachs is so good on defense. They have such great team speed. White Plains offensive line opened up a big hole that time, but very quickly the team speed, Rodney Reddick comes in there and totally closes up that hole. And only just actually a 1 yard loss after that big hole opened up by the White Plains line.
Ball in the air to Alex Howard. We'll pick up the first down on that play.
Nice game for a first down, but Chase, I think we're going to see another holding call, and that is exactly the call. We have a holding again, wiping out another big pass play. That one not as big as the first one, but that was going to be a first down on a 2nd and long situation. And right now, penalties killing White Plains as they have snuffed out 2 big plays.
And now it's holding on White Plains. It'll remain 2nd down as they will move them back.
White Plains seems to have found something, rolling the quarterback out away from some of that pressure from the Sachs defense. And he's had 2 big connections on those rollouts, but both of those have been wiped out by holding penalties.
Blake Rozelle in at quarterback for White Plains. They'll snap the ball. Hand off to Peyton Morgan and brought down immediately.
Just nowhere to go. And once again, Sachs coming in there, Rodney Reddick. Actually make that Jonathan Cobb. Jonathan Cobb coming up from the secondary to lend support, and Cobb makes another loss of about 2 more yards there for White Plains.
It'll be 3rd down now for White Plains. On the 23-yard line. Got a lot of field ahead of them here. Snap to Rozelle. Looking to pass. Pass over the head of Charlie Huey. It'll be 4th down.
Excellent defense over there. Trey Cottingham in the area. Sachs all over that one. Excellent coverage in the secondary by the Sachs Wildcats. And 4th down, and we'll have another punt here. Should be excellent field position once again for Sachs. They began the last drive after a short punt at the White Plains 46. They may have even better field position if they get a similar punt this time.
Punt up from the Wildcats. We'll go to about the 41-yard line.
Excellent punt by Eli Downs that time. High hanging, a lot of hang time, and about 10 or 15 yards further than the first punt. So we anticipated Sachs having good field position. Instead, they'll be back inside their own 50-yard line at the 41. Penalties have been the story for White Plains, and a big turnover been the big story for Sachs.
So Sachs will come back on offense, led by LaDerrick Bell, the quarterback. Snap to Bell. He'll hand off this time to Torres, who is brought down there by Garrison Abbott of the White Plains Wildcats.
Rodolfo Torres on the speed jet sweep that time. Excellent defense by White Plains to stay at home and shed the blockers, and only a minimal pickup of about 2 yards for Sachs.
Snap to Bell. He'll hand off again this time, and quickly brought down by that White Plains Wildcats defense.
Excellent penetration that time. Caleb Knight in there. Jake Spivey also in there on the front line. Big number 74 also in there, Tanner Kuhn. Entire defensive front just went unblocked that time, clogged up the hole, and actually may have lost about a foot on that play.
Snap to Bell. He'll be looking to pass this time. He'll take it himself, though, across the 50, down to the 40, and still going. He's down to the 10, and he'll go all the way. Touchdown, Sachs Wildcats. LaDerrick Bell saw an opening, and he took off.
And that is where Sachs, through the years, has been able to hurt you so much from the quarterback position, as they've always had a quarterback with great running ability, and apparently they have found yet another one in LaDerrick Bell. White Plains came off the corner with a little bit of a corner blitz. Nathan Jenkins was there coming off the corner, number 24, but missed the tackle in the backfield. And Bell showing some great running ability, not only when he got to the corner to sidestep the sideline, had a great block out in front of him, and then kind of put the move on Jalen Jackson and walked into the end zone. Pretty typical from what we've seen from the Sachs offense over the last several years.
They will attempt the extra point. Will be Anthony Corneo to attempt the extra point. Kick up, and it looked good. 7-0. Quick lead for the Sachs Wildcats with 6:11 left here in quarter number 1.
And Cornell looks like the best kicker Sachs has had in a while.
So we take a look at the replay there. As the Tony Sarah Ford scoring drive, 3 plays, 59 yards in 1:21, John.
And a 57-yard touchdown sprint by the quarterback, LaDerrick Bell. Put the move on Jackson there. Had a little interference. Nice little job by Chamarion Hughley of getting in the way. And he walks into the end zone, and it's 7-0 Sachs.
And there you see the Sachs Wildcats head coach Jonathan Miller, 39-9 in 4 years at Sachs. He's been to the playoffs all 4 seasons, averaging 10 wins per season, and that is his 5th year for the Sachs Wildcats.
And that's probably as good of a 4-year record as any coach has ever done in Sachs history, averaging 10 wins a year over the last 4 years. Of course, last year put out early in the playoffs by Sachs standards as the kickoff sails into the end zone. There'll be no return. But, you know, last year they were 8-2, had another excellent football team, and were in control of that game at home in the first round against West Limestone, and things just kind of went crazy there toward the end of the game, and they wound up losing that game 42-36 in double overtime. Really a tough loss for Sachs, because this was a Sachs team that could have very easily gone much, much deeper in the playoffs had it not been for that upset loss at home to West Limestone. And that loss to West Limestone probably as tough a loss for Jonathan Miller and his staff in this program to take as they've had in a while.
White Plains back on offense. Snap to Rozelle. He'll hand off to Howard. Pushes for about 3 yards. Another penalty flag tossed in the mix there.
Chase, I hate to say it, but they throw that right into the middle of the line there, and it looks like there might possibly be another holding call. Now there's going to be a personal foul face mask, so that'll be a 15-yard penalty. So now the penalty's starting to hurt Sachs here. They had done a good job there of another short gain by White Plains, and now a 15-yard penalty, and that will give White Plains a first down.
Saw 2 penalties last series for the White Plains Wildcats. Kind of hurt them a little bit. Now they're getting pushed up due to a penalty for the Sachs Wildcats. White Plains breaks the huddle. Rozelle back at quarterback. Snap is dropped.
I think the ball came loose. Sachs is saying they have it, but I think White Plains got right back on top of it.
White Plains will remain on offense there. Close call as the ball was fumbled. White Plains was able to jump right back on it, though.
Big number 75. We were impressed by this guy. We saw him for the first time last year here at the Spring Jam. And he is, if anything, even bigger. Only a 9th grader, will be a 10th grader this fall. Big number 75, Mario Thomas.
Rozelle back to pass. Pressure coming, though. He'll take it himself, bring down about the 50-yard line. Maybe gain a yard on the play.
Sachs doing a good job of closing down any of those running lanes there. Just really nowhere from Rozelle to go. All kind of white jerseys in the area. Sachs doing a good job of pursuing the football. They've shut down pretty much the White Plains running game. It's been in the passing game where they have been hurt by White Plains, but the 2 times we've seen big plays by the White Plains offense, they've been negated by penalties.
White Plains looking to get on the opposite side of the 50 for the first time today. Snap to Rozelle. He'll look to pass again. He completes his pass this time to Austin Bussey, who's brought down. They'll gain about a yard on that play.
Bussey made a tough catch that time. Knew he was going to get hit, hung onto the ball anyway, and really gained nothing. No gain. The ball was at the 49, remains at the 49 even after that short pass.
It'll be 4th down for White Plains. They'll be punting the ball.
3rd punt of the day here for White Plains already here in the first quarter.
They will spot the ball. Let's see.
That takes a big bounce. That's one of the things about playing on turf, Chase, is sometimes you get those backward bounces and it just keeps bouncing on those rubber pellets out there, and that one bounced all the way back to the 38-yard line. So the net on that is going to be only an 11-yard punt, and it was a good punt. The punt was fine, good hang time, pretty good yardage, but it bounced back. It looked like, Chase, probably 15, 16, 17 yards.
Well, Derek Bell and the Sachs Wildcats back on the field as they lead 7-0 here in the first quarter of this game. Handoff to Torres. He'll take off across the 40 down to the 30. And it looks like he'll go all the way. Another touchdown for the Sachs Wildcats.
Rodolfo Torres, again coming from the speed sweep, just took the handoff. And once he found the corner, it was nothing but green turf here at JSU Stadium. A 57-yard touchdown run by Bell, and now Torres with a 62-yard touchdown run. White Plains striking with Sachs striking with 2 big plays here in the first quarter.
Corneo will be back on for the Sachs Wildcats to attempt the extra point. Kick is up and it's good. 14-0, the Sachs Wildcats lead there. Another touchdown for Sachs. With 3:27 remaining here in the first quarter as we take a look again at this
that play a staple of the Sachs offense. Just the speed jet sweep, trying to get the ball into a playmaker's hands and try to get him to the corner. They did exactly that time, and then it was Katie bar the door as he was off to the races, 62 yards for the touchdown. It seems like every year here at the Spring Jam, Sachs has always got some key players, especially in the skill positions, to replace, and they always seem to come back with some speedy, talented, great football players, and it looks like that Jonathan Miller and his staff have done that here again. Been very impressed. They had a lot of folks to replace on that offensive side, did Sachs. What we've seen so far here, they have found some good replacements.
Corneo will be back on to kickoff here after the touchdown.
And I think Sachs I'm very impressed with their place kicker here, Corneo. He's put 2 into the back of the end zone. This one comes down at the goal line, but he has had 2 kickoffs that have gone into the end zone. That kickoff comes down right about the 2-yard line. He's made both extra points with ease. I think Sachs has got a very impressive guy at kicker as well.
White Plains will take back over at the 25 or at the 30-yard line. 3:27 remaining here in the first quarter. Again, we'll play 3 varsity quarters, and then that 4th quarter will be a junior varsity quarter, so we'll have 3 quarters of this varsity game.
Just kind of get the impression that offensively, White Plains is going to have to throw the football to have much success moving the ball.
Toss to Howard, and he's brought down as another penalty flag is tossed out onto the field.
That play, if it stands, another face mask penalty against Sachs. So that play was going to lose 5 yards, but instead going to have another 15-yard penalty. That's really 2 consecutive face mask penalties whistled against Sachs, and that's about the, there it is, very easy to see. Great camera work there. Not for long, but evident there that that was for sure a face mask. Number 50, Nigel Parker, putting his hand in there and grabbing the face mask ever so briefly.
First down for the Wildcats. Hand off there to Charlie Huey. He will take it, pick up the first down, and knocked out of bounds.
Good blocking by White Plains that time to try to get him to the corner. We see the replay here is trying to string it out was the Sachs defense, and able to turn the corner over there was Charlie Huey and picked up a nice gain, 9 yards, almost getting the first down. That's been the best running play by far that we've seen from White Plains here in this first quarter.
Second down and about 1 for White Plains. Snap to Rozelle. He'll hand off to Howard, who's brought down quickly, and they'll lose about 3 yards on that play.
Still almost 3 minutes to go here in this first quarter, and this is already the 4th offensive possession for White Plains. A turnover, they got the possession to begin the game, and then the biggest thing I think is 2 very quick scores by the Sachs Wildcats with big plays.
Rozelle takes the snap for White Plains. He'll be looking to pass, pressure coming. Pass intended for Howard, but he overthrew the man, and incomplete pass. So it'll be 3rd down now for White Plains.
Roland Torres of Sachs had actually fallen down, and that was going to be another opportunity for White Plains as Howard was open that time. Passed just a little bit high as Rozelle was under a lot of pressure. And another 4th down and long coming for White Plains. Or 4th and short, I should say. They're going to go for this one, less than a yard to go.
Hand off to Howard. He'll get across and get a first down and then some for White Plains to keep this drive alive.
Howard, a nice spin move. He had the first down, but then able to spin away and pick up another 3 or 4 yards.
So we take a look there at the White Plains Wildcats head coach, Chris White. This is the 3rd White Plains coach in 4 years. He was an assistant for a while out there, and he was 1-9 in his first season, and he will be going into season number 2 here in the fall. Hand off to Huey once again. He'll get almost to the get about to the 42-yard line, and he'll be brought down.
White Plains going back to the well with Huey. They had excellent success the last time they ran that play on the speed jet sweep. Picked up 9 the first time. Not as much this time, but still positive yards. It's really been the only time they've really gained a whole lot in the running game has been on that sweep to Huey.
Minute 25 left in the first quarter.
If you want to work on your suntan a little bit, this will be the place to do it here at Burgess Snow Field today. Beautiful afternoon with total sunshine.
Hand off to Howard. He'll gain a couple of yards on the play.
Just hard to pull away, hard to get many 2nd and 3rd opportunities against this Sachs defense. You see them trying to pull away from tacklers, trying to escape, but they have so much team speed, and really there to blow it up that time was Will Fletcher in the backfield, blowing up the whole play, and 3rd and long coming up here for the White Plains Wildcats, trying to threaten for the first time. They've had a lot of possessions, but haven't been able to put together a real scoring drive, so let's see what they can do on this 3rd down and about 7.
Snap to Rozelle. He'll hand off to Huey. Quickly brought down, though, by that Sachs Wildcat defense.
Huey trying to get to the corner again, but this time Jadaris Griffin, number 7 for Sachs, out there to put the stop to it. Looked like he was going to be able to get to the outside and break a tackle, but a great open field tackle by Griffin to shut it down. And that very well may be the last play of quarter number 1.
Clock under 10. And it will be. They will wrap up quarter number 1 here in game 1 of today, and game 1 of 2 of the Calhoun County Spring Jam on this Saturday. The Sachs Wildcats lead this one 14-0 over the White Plains Wildcats. We'll be back with quarter number 2 here on TV24.
Storage has now expanded with over 140 units. Oxford Secure Storage now has the largest selection of climate-controlled units in the area. All sizes, both climate and non-climate controlled units, are available with state-of-the-art amenities. All access ways are paved and under 24-hour high-tech surveillance. Our friendly and knowledgeable staff will help you through the entire rental process. Come see for yourself the extra measures Oxford Secure Storage takes for your security.
For the finest quality foods and hundreds of specials every week, shop at Dorsey's Supermarket in downtown Oxford. Dorsey's has been your home for the highest quality and freshest meat in town since 1985, and nobody beats their famous Pick 5 deal. Mix and match your 5 favorite meat selections and pay only $19.99. And now you can enjoy your meat fresh out of the smoker. Pick up your smoked butts, ribs, or wings today. Dorsey's Supermarket, Main Street in Oxford. TV24's coverage of the Calhoun County Spring Jam is brought to you by Oxford Secure Storage and by Dorsey Supermarket.
Back here at Jacksonville State University, Burgess Snow Field, a beautiful Saturday for some high school football. And we've got the Sachs Wildcats and the White Plains Wildcats doing battle here. White Plains on offense. Rozelle with an incomplete pass there for White Plains.
Under pressure once again, looking for Peyton Morgan, and that was a 4th down play. They elected to go for it on 4th down and 9 at the Sachs 44, and again had a wide open receiver, but Rozelle's just, for the most part, except for the first maybe couple of passes of the game, he's been under such tremendous duress and such pressure, and that pass sailed on him a little bit. He had Morgan wide open running free down about the 35-yard line. Would have been a 1st down, but instead the ball will go over on downs to Sachs. And Sachs, obviously, except for that opening fumble, they have been very efficient, Chase, on offense.
The last 2 drives, we saw a touchdown. The last 2 times the Wildcats have touched the ball, so we'll see what they'll do here, led by quarterback. He'll be a junior next season, LaDerrick Bell. Snap to Bell. He'll hand off to Fletcher. Fletcher gets loose. Gains about 8.
Will Fletcher looks like a fire plug back there in the backfield, and we've been watching him block in that first quarter. I was anxious to see what he would do if he carried the football, and that's exactly what I expected. Running through tackles, turning those feet, and picking up 8 yards.
And off to Fletcher once again. He's still alive as he crosses the 45-yard line.
Fletcher is a bowling ball. I mean, he knocked 2 or 3 pins out that time.
Snap to Bell, hands off to Fletcher again. Gets across the 40. Gains about 6 yards on that play.
Fletcher, first time with a real head of steam. Huge hole. Look at that line. The Sachs offensive line opening up a huge hole and then taking on Jalen Jackson and just driving him for another 2 or 3 yards.
Another handoff to Fletcher. He quickly is brought down, though, as he runs right into Walker Surratt from the White Plains Wildcats.
Surratt, great job that time filling the hole, and then a good tackle at the line of scrimmage. Knocks him down immediately for no gain. So a great play by Walker Surratt of White Plains, bringing up a third down, and we haven't seen this much for Sachs. Third down, about 6 yards to go. And they will pick up maybe 5 of those for free. We'll see if they were drawn off or if it's going to be 3rd and 1.
They will signal offsides on the defense. They'll have about.
They're going to say maybe a little bit short. I don't think they're going to measure. So it'll be 3rd down and about a yard.
To the air, the Wildcats go. Almost picked off there by Peyton Morgan in White Plains, but it'll fall out of his hands. So that'll bring up 2nd down for
broken up by Peyton Morgan.
Sachs.
I think they're off on the chains over there. They're showing 3rd down now, but I think it's 4th down, and the official is now saying to the chain gang, he's putting his fist up. So this is 4th down. I thought it was 4th down. They're changing that on the chains over there now. 4th down and about a foot, and obviously Sachs will go for it.
Well, Derek Bell, he'll hand off to Reddick, who will get the 1st down and a couple of more yards. This drive still alive for Sachs as they're inching closer to the end zone.
Sachs again with a lot of weapons. Bell at quarterback. We've seen Reddick back there. We've seen Fletcher, Torres. Again, Sachs just seems to plug and play every year.
Hand off again to Reddick. He's quickly brought down, though, by Jalen Jackson of White Plains.
5 in blue working on 5 in white, and the 5 in blue won that battle. Great job by Jalen Jackson. Jackson just setting his feet. Classic textbook tackle, head on. Knocked him down for only about a half-yard gain.
It'll be 2nd down for Sachs. Second 10, snap to Bell. He'll hand off to Torres. Is brought down about the line of scrimmage.
Charlie Huey, we called his name a lot on offense, but now on defense. Great job turning it back inside, and not only turning it back inside where he had teammates, but also making the tackle actually. And that play is actually going to lose maybe a half yard. So 3rd and 10 now for the Wildcats of Sachs.
Fletcher lined up behind Bell. Bell goes to the air, though. He'll fire it up, pass complete to Hughley, and into the end zone he goes. Another touchdown there for Tremarian Hughley of Sachs.
Great catch and move by Hughley, but an even better job at quarterback by LaDerrick Bell. Bell rolling out and being very patient, waiting for a wide receiver to come open, and then found Hughley down at about the 5-yard line, put a move on Jackson, and got into the end zone. I've been very impressed. The question has always been down through the years, each year when Sachs loses one of these great quarterbacks, how are you going to replace these guys? And they found, I think, another replacement with Derek Bell with a touchdown strike. And Chase doing it both with his legs and now with his arm.
Right. We saw that long touchdown a minute ago, and now the long pass there as Corneo nails another extra point. 21-0. There you see the Tony Sarah Ford scoring drive, 10 plays, 56 yards, and it took them 3 minutes and 1 second, John.
Another very impressive drive, and Sachs really has, with the exception of that fumble they had on about the 3rd play of the game that snuffed out their first drive, since that time they have been perfect on offense.
It will be White Plains' turn to take over on offense after the kickoff.
With the exception of the fumble and then the 2 face mask penalties, Jonathan Miller's not going to have a whole lot at this point in time to complain about with his team when he puts the tape in.
Looking good so far here in this spring game. The Calhoun County Spring Jam. Corneo is lining up to kick things off.
Sachs early on had a couple of breakdowns in the secondary. Those were brought back because of penalties, and another nice kickoff that in essence goes into the end zone. But they seem to have cleaned that up. They much better job in the secondary here in the second quarter and late first quarter than what we had early in the game when there were some guys from White Plains running free. But other than that, Sachs has been very, very impressive. 20-0 lead here. Not even halfway through quarter number 2.
White Plains turn on offense, led by quarterback Blake Rozelle. He'll be a senior next season. Rozelle takes the snap, fumbled snap, then it'll be picked up by Fletcher, and he'll jump back on it for the Sachs Wildcats down around the 7-yard line or so.
White Plains has had some penalties to deal with, but they've been turnover free until this point in time, and just really disaster striking for White Plains. At this point in time, down 20-0 and needing something good to happen offensively. The worst thing that could happen is a turnover, and not only that, but because the ball rolled backwards so much and kicked around so much, Sachs is going to begin this drive inside the 10-yard line. Ball sitting at about the 9.5.
Sachs with another opportunity on the offensive side of the ball here after we called Will Fletcher several times running the ball, and there he jumped on that fumbled snap there. Jonathan Cobb in at quarterback for the Sachs Wildcats. Cobb will take off, gets down to the 7-yard line, but there'll be a penalty flag thrown in the backfield.
Oh, that was an easy one to call. The officials in this game will not have an easier penalty to call than that one. DJ Austin with an obvious hold in the backfield, and so Sachs will come back 10 yards.
It'll remain first down for Sachs, but they'll
Jonathan Miller will have some complaints about not about the officiating, but about the calls. His folks getting some undue penalties there. He'll be upset with his team about that, because these have been, holding penalties and face mask penalties, and those are the kind of things you have to clean up, because those are major distance penalties and can kill a drive.
Well, Derek Bell in at quarterback, and he hand off to Reddick, and he's brought down quickly.
Reddick comes inside, then goes outside. Nice pickup. Does not get all of the penalty yardage back, but gets most of it back. Gets about 8 of the 10 penalty yards back.
Second down now for Sachs. Snap to Bell. He'll hand off again to Reddick. Reddick running some traffic and brought down about the 6-yard line.
Remember, this drive began inside the 10, so this will be a 3rd and goal situation. The ball going to be sitting now at about the 6-yard line.
A little over 7 minutes remaining here in the second quarter between Sachs and White Plains. Snap to Bell, hand off to Reddick again, and he'll get down to about the 3-yard line.
Half the yards he needed, down to about the 3, and 4th and goal for Sachs. So big play here for White Plains. A lot of confidence here if they could somehow hold this Sachs team out. On 4th down and 3. Put the starting quarterback back in the game.
Bell hands off to Reddick again. This time he'll march right into the end zone. Another touchdown for the Sachs Wildcats.
It's his first team quarterback in. He hands it off to Rodney Reddick, and Reddick just walks into the end zone, tosses the ball to the official, and Already for the 4th time in the first half, we're going to hear the Sachs Wildcat Band striking up the Sachs fight song.
Corneo on again to attempt the extra point. Kick is up and is good. 28-0. Sachs Wildcats lead White Plains here with 6:59 remaining in the half. There you see quarterback LaDerrick Bell. And our Tony Sarah Ford scoring drive, 4 plays, 7 yards in 1:46.
28-0. Notice sitting down below us for most of this first half was Jacksonville High School head football coach Clint Smith. And I notice he's gone now, so he may have seen all he needs to see. He will play both of these teams this fall in Class 4A Region 5 play.
Last time we saw White Plains on offense, it was a fumbled snap and ended up in that Sachs touchdowns a few plays later. We'll see White Plains take back over on offense here after Corneo's kickoff.
That's the shortest kick Corneo's had, and it was still inside the 10. Been very impressed by that young man. I think the kicking game is in safe hands. I think what we're seeing here from Sachs is they're serving notice to Class 4A Region 5 that they're going to be a contender again. They're not going anywhere. They're going to be right there battling for the region title. A lot of talent, good coaching programs in place. So that region, and at halftime, we'll take a look at schedules for both of these teams. And, of course, being in the same region, they'll have a lot of the same opponents. But we'll talk more about the region at halftime. But I think that Sachs, from what we've seen here today, will be another team that's going to be in contention.
Another fumbled snap for White Plains, and it will be Sachs number 23, Ryan Torres, to jump right on that ball. And Sachs will take back over on offense. It's the second time, it's the second straight series that has happened for the White Plains Wildcats.
Made it easy for Torres that time. The ball just slipped out of Roselle's hands, and for the second drive in a row, White Plains on the first play fumbles the ball and gives it right back over to Sachs.
So Sachs will take back over on offense once again from about the 30-yard line. 1st and 10 for Sachs. LaDerrick Bell back on the field as quarterback.
This is like the 6th or 7th possession for Sachs already in this game. It's just the halfway mark of quarter number 2, and a timeout going to be called by Sachs. I think they could get things going on the offensive side over there, so electing to spend a timeout.
Again, Sachs up 28-0 here against White Plains. 6:53 left in the half. White Plains in the beginning part of the game suffered a lot of penalties. Now it's a lot of miscommunication on offense.
And 2 really costly. We don't know if this one will be costly or not, but the first one certainly was. White Plains was in striking distance until that last fumble. And now they've got to play their best defense of the game. They really got to buckle up here as we take a look at the Sachs band here in full force. Band director Gene Inglis, those guys, they do one of the best sounding bands you're going to see anywhere in this state. They may not be the biggest band in the state, but they have a unique, great sound. You hear them playing here at JSU Stadium.
As the Sachs Wildcats return from the timeout. Snap to Bell. He'll fake the handoff, and he'll go to the air, and this time we'll find Hughley, but the pass will be incomplete as have an injured player out for the White Plains Wildcats.
That was Bell going for Hughley again. The last touchdown strike was down the center of the field in that same end zone, and electing to go to him once again on the first play. Had it in his hands, but the injured player, I believe, for White Plains. I think that was Peyton Morgan who was the one who ripped it out at the last moment, preventing the touchdown, but apparently fell hard on the turf, and they'll have to help him off the field over here to the White Plains sidelines.
It'll be 2nd and 10 now for Sachs after the incomplete pass there to Hughley. Back to Bell. Bell looking to go to the air again. This is another incomplete pass. That'll bring up 3rd down.
The thing that's been impressive about Bell is that's probably the only bad pass he's had. He has been on the money with every pass so far. That was a little bit low, like he may have aimed that. A lot of times you've got a wide receiver who's low and you're trying to get that in there, you'll aim it a little bit, and that one hopped on him at the last minute.
3rd and 10 for the Sachs Wildcats. Snap back to Bell, looking to go to the air again. He does so. He finds number 14, Harley Burgess, and that'll bring up 4th down and about 3 yards.
Formation we haven't seen from Sachs so far. That time they went with triple receivers. They stacked them over there on that far right side. Threw it over there to Burgess, who was the tail of the tandem in that stack formation, and got some pretty good blocks out there and able to pick up about 7 or 8 yards.
Some movement there on the line. They'll drop the penalty flag, and we'll see if it was on offense or defense here. That'll be a false start on Sachs, signaled by our white hat, Mr. Robert Howell, doing a great job out there today, as all the officials have done for us.
Saw a shot over there on the sidelines of the Sachs coaches a moment ago. They've got those big cards over there. There it is. They got Superman. They've got 2+9. It's like Lee Corso over there. I saw an NWO logo, a pink box, and I'll be honest with you, I have no idea. Taco Bell, Auburn Tigers, ESPN, have no idea what any of that means, but they do.
Bell is another pass up in the air, picked off though by Garrison Abbott of the White Plains Wildcats. Picks that off in the end zone, and White Plains will take back over on offense as they drew the turnover there.
Good looking throw going to Hughley again for the 3rd time on the deep pattern into the end zone, and just a phenomenal interception. Garrison Abbott just stepping right in front of Hughley and taking the ball away, and then did a very smart thing. Just went down to his knee. Let's get good field position for my team. Let's not get stuck inside the 10 there. Heads up play by Garrison Abbott. And that is exactly what White Plains needed. Now if they can hang on to the football, remember the last 2 possessions, on the first play of each possession, they have fumbled the ball right back to the Sachs Wildcats. So let's see if they can hang on to the football here on possession 3.
Rozelle at quarterback. Howard lined up right behind him, but the handoff goes to Charlie Huey. Charlie will bring it down to about the 29-yard line.
And it looks like we may have another White Plains player that's going to be injured over here right in front of the White Plains bench. Coach White reaching down, may have got his breath knocked out of him. I think he may have just fallen, and it looks like he may have just had his breath knocked out.
That injured player was the receiver on that play, Charlie Huey, number 1. It'll be 2nd and 12 now for White Plains Wildcats. Howard lined up behind Rozelle in the backfield. Handoff will go to Howard, and he's immediately brought down as they'll lose a couple of more yards.
No one touched Rodney Reddick at all. Chase, when I say no one touched him, I'm telling you, I think I could have made that tackle. Maybe. I at least would have had a shot at it, because no one touched him at all. He just came free and knocked him backwards for about a 4-yard loss. I'm not guaranteeing I would have made that tackle, but at least I could have had a shot with no one touching me.
It'll be 3rd down for White Plains. Snap to Rozelle. He'll look to pass this time. Pressure being applied, and he will be brought down about the 15-yard line.
Will Fletcher, we saw him carrying the football from his running back position on offense and had some very good runs earlier in the quarter, and now coming off the end that time, and just a total disruption over there of the White Plains backfield. Also in there, helping out, providing some support, was Nija Parker. Another huge loss for White Plains and forces another Wildcat punt.
It'll be 4th down. The Wildcats elect to punt. Punts right to the Sachs receiver, Jonathan Cobb. It'll be the Sachs Wildcats taking over on offense as they lead 28-0 here with 3:37 remaining in this first half.
One thing that's been a real key for Sachs' success on offense, Chase, they have had tremendous field position. When you're starting drives at the 10-yard line and the 30-yard line of your opponents, and then you started, this is probably the 2nd or 3rd drive that they have started right around the midfield stripe. They have had excellent field position. They haven't had very far to go on any of these drives.
LaDerrick Bell, number 2 for Sachs, back in quarterback. See the handoff there. He'll get back to the line of scrimmage. That handoff went to number 5, Rodney Reddick.
Reddick stood up at the line of scrimmage. Great job of filling the hole. Alex Howard, we called Howard's name a lot. Howard that time stood him up at the line and no gain. So a 2nd and long for Sachs.
Handoff once again to Reddick. He'll take off across the 50 as another penalty flag is thrown. Looks like could be another holding call here. We'll see what the officials call.
Usually when that guy turns the corner and there's some blockers out in front and you get that, that's exactly what you get from Robert Howell there, is a holding call. Officials have been excellent. I tell you, the officials that we've seen the last few days have been in, I would think, in mid-season form. These guys just have not missed anything, and they've done an excellent job. Of course, we talked earlier last weekend with Mark Jones talking about how that they use this as a training time, just like the team does. Yeah, no question about that. Had hold of the arm. Pretty easy call to make and negates that big run by Reddick.
2nd and long for Sachs. Handoff to Reddick, and he doesn't get much on that play.
This time the big defensive lineman, Tanner Kuhn, coming in there, disrupting things, and another no gain. So this has been defensively probably the best defensive stand we've seen by White Plains so far today.
Snap to Bell. He'll look to pass this time. Scrambles. He'll take it himself and run out of bounds about the 39-yard line.
Huey back in the game after having his breath knocked out over on the sidelines, walked that off and came out and did a real good job of forcing Bell to the sidelines and getting just a minimum game. And I believe this is the first punt of the game we're going to see from Sachs.
Fourth down, and the Wildcats will be punting with 2:30 remaining in the half with a 28-0 lead. Punt is up, and it will be Abbott back there to receive that. It'll be White Plains taking back over on the offensive side of the ball.
After the Harley Burgess punt, actually not great field position, but actually compared to what White Plains has had, this is some of the best starting field position that they have had this afternoon, starting at their own 34-yard line.
Blake Rozelle back in at quarterback for the White Plains Wildcats. Handoff goes to Huey as he returns to the game, and he'll gain about a yard on the play for the White Plains Wildcats.
Nija Parker, you see big number 50 there. He's been very active today on that defensive front for Sachs. Playing over there at that right defensive end slot.
Minute 45 left in the half as White Plains looking to get something done here in the first half on offense. Snap to Rozelle. Handoff to Peyton Morgan. He comes back to the game. Ball's loose, though. It looks like White Plains has jumped back on it to keep possession of the ball there. Number 53 for White Plains. Jake Spivey hopped on that ball to keep the possession towards the White Plains Wildcats.
Looked like the White Plains was going to jump on it. Then it looked like Sachs was going to get it. And then at the last moment, it bounced right back over there to Spivey. But the result is another 3rd down and long, close to 7 yards to go to pick up this first down for White Plains. They have had some players up. They've had a little success with rolling Rozelle out and trying to find some players in the flat. Let's see if they try to do that again on 3rd down.
Handoff again to Peyton Morgan. Works across the 40, but is brought down, and that'll be 4th down for the White Plains Wildcats.
Gets to the 42. He needed to go to the 44 for the first down. So 4th down and a solid 2 yards to go for White Plains. I don't think with just a few seconds to go in the half and down 28-0, there's any question that they're going to go for this one.
Under 30 seconds remaining here.
It looks like they may just let the half run out. Nothing on the play clock, unless they decide to maybe call timeout at the very end and then maybe throw a Hail Mary here to end the half. Robert Howell comes over and stands next to the White Plains bench, but it looks like they're just going to let it go to halftime, and it has been a very impressive performance by the Sachs Wildcats.
Sachs leading 28-0 over White Plains here as we end half number 1 of game 1 of 2 today here in the 2016 Calhoun County Spring Jam. We'll be back in a couple of minutes, and we're going to first off talk to White Plains head coach Chris White. We're getting him mic'd up down on the sideline.
Still trying to get his headphones working down there. We put some headphones on him so he can hear our questions from the booth here. They are having a little bit of time getting everything straightened out. All right, I think we're ready to go now with Coach White down there. Coach, this is John Holder and Chase Robinson from TV24. Glad to have you with us. And Coach, at the very first of the game, you had some pretty big pass plays out there from your passing game. Penalties wiped those out. But what did you see from your passing game, especially early on there?
Well, I felt real good about the pass game because they was bringing so much pressure on us because we're not being able to run the football because not being very physical up front. So, we're still young up front. We got one senior up there, but we got to get more physical so we can run the football so we can continue to open up that passing game. The big thing is, our quarterback's the first time he's ever played quarterback in a football game. He's got to continue rolling down because we got to have to do play action out of him because he can't really drop back and throw it down there deep. I hope we can continue to do that in the second half. The big thing is both sides of football, we got to get real physical. That's where we're not winning any battles at all.
Coach, you mentioned having a lot of new players this season coming, and so for most of your team, this is the first time they've been in a situation like this, being into a game situation and television, a college stadium and all that. So what have you seen from your team as far as the response to that, these guys that have been kind of thrown into the fire for the first time?
I like the response we have. I hadn't seen us really back up from anybody. I feel like, even during warm-ups, we didn't really have a big eye or anything like that. We just don't really know exactly how we need to respond as far as the physical aspect and the speed of the game.
Before we let you get to your team there, tell us maybe philosophy-wise what you're going to do here in this third and fourth quarter as far as substitution patterns and things like that.
We'll probably stay with the same guys in that third quarter because we need to get as many reps of those guys as we can. When we get in the fourth quarter, I'm going to bring a lot of freshmen in and just try to continue to get a lot of quality reps out of those guys and get as many freshmen in the game as we can.
Coach, thank you. Best of luck not only in the second half, but in the 2016 season. We'll be watching you every week.
Okay, thank
obviously.
you, sir.
Thank you. Chris White, the head coach of the White Plains Wildcats, trailing 28-0 here. But second half coming, and they'll try to get some of those young players into the game.
There you see some big Sachs runs that led to touchdowns. That was a lot of the first half we saw, and we'll come back here at halftime, look at the schedules for both teams, and talk about this first half. 28-0 Sachs on top. We'll be back in a minute.
Oxford Secure Storage has now expanded with over 140 units. Oxford Secure Storage now has the largest selection of climate-controlled units in the area. All sizes, both climate and non-climate controlled units, are available with state-of-the-art amenities. All access ways are paved and under 24-hour high-tech surveillance. Our friendly and knowledgeable staff will help you through the entire rental process. Come see for yourself the extra measures Oxford Secure Storage takes for your security.
For the finest quality foods and hundreds of specials every week, shop at Dorsey's Supermarket in downtown Oxford. Dorsey's has been your home for the highest quality and freshest meat in town since 1985, and nobody beats their famous Pick 5 deal. Mix and match your 5 favorite meat selections and pay only $19.99. And now you can enjoy your meat fresh out of the smoker. Pick up your smoked butts, ribs, or wings today. Dorsey's Supermarket, Main Street in Oxford.
Hi, my name is Reverend Jeffrey C. Williams, the owner and licensed funeral director of Anderson Funeral Services. At Anderson Funeral Services, we are compassionate and caring individuals committed to providing quality and professional service at affordable prices. We are where service begins and never ends, and love is what love does.
Aniston Funeral Services offers affordable services to meet any need for all families. Aniston Funeral Services, 630 South Wilmer Avenue, where service begins and never ends.
I am Wilbur.
Estoy en Wilbur.
I am Wilbur.
I am Wilbur.
I am Wilbur.
I am Wilbur. I am Wilbur.
I am Wilbur.
I am Wilbur.
I am Wilbur.
I am Wilbur.
We are Wilbur.
TV24's coverage of the Calhoun County Spring Jam is brought to you by Oxford Secure Storage and by Dorsey's Supermarket.
Back here at Burgess Snow Field at Jacksonville State University, there you see the Sachs Wildcats lead 28-0 over the White Plains Wildcats here in our first game of the day, first of two here at the Calhoun County Spring Jam, as we are at halftime alongside John Holder. I'm Chase Robinson here, and John, there you see in that first half some big Sachs runs that led to that 28 points.
Yeah, they are very efficient on offense, except for a few penalties there. They had that one fumble at the very beginning of the game on the first drive, but other than that, offensively and defensively, really, Sachs has been pretty perfect. They've had a lot of penalties. I know that's one of the things that Jonathan Miller will talk to his team about, but other than that, and you can clean that kind of stuff up, they've been very good. Bell at quarterback has been sensational, both running the football, throwing the football, running the offense. I mean, he looks like he's in mid-season form, first-year starting quarterback, and just very impressed by what Sachs has done here, both offensively and defensively. And the kicking game's been good as well here in this first half.
And there have been some high points for the White Plains Wildcats. We saw get a couple turnovers as well.
Well, as Coach White mentioned there, young football team, you can tell that in spots. But what he said about them not backing down and not backing off, they're still playing very hard. Mm-hmm. You know, you get down 21, 28-0 sometimes. Spring game, you'll see them back off. Didn't see any of that in the first half in White Plains. So I think it's just getting these guys some experience going through the summer and getting a little bit bigger, stronger, more physical, and getting some more playing time. And I think White Plains will be fine and be competitive.
And we're going to take a look at some schedules, the season schedules coming up for this 2016 season here. And we'll start with the White Plains Wildcats 2016 schedule. As there you see, they'll open up on August 26th. They'll have an open week on the 19th. Then they'll open up at Ohatchee on the 26th. Then they'll host Aniana, and then they'll play this team they're playing right here. They'll go to Sachs on September the 9th. Host Hoax Bluff on the 16th, then go to Westbrook Christian, to Anniston, to Cherokee County, to Jacksonville, host Asheville, and they'll finish up with Welborn, John.
There's no gimmies there. Again, the August 19th, that's what they call the week 0. They went a couple of years ago to the Alabama High School Athletic Association and giving you 11 weeks to play 10 games. So that week 0 will be their open date, and then they'll play 10 consecutive games beginning on the 26th. And we saw, as a non-region game, we'll begin with non-region there, Ohatchee in Class 3A. That's an opponent White Plains has played many times through the years, but we saw how impressive they were here Thursday against Walter Welborn. That is not an easy game by any stretch of the imagination. Then they go to Rainbow City to take on Westbrook Christian, who is always good moving back down from moving from 3A back down to 2A. And then you've got Walter Welborn, who we saw, who's going to be very good again. That will be on the hill at Walter Welborn. That'll be a Thursday night game on October the 27th, playing on the hill at Walter Welborn. So there's no gimmies in non-region play, and in region play there's certainly no gimmies there whatsoever. You look at Aniana, perennial 4A power. Sachs has been a perennial 4A power. Hoax Bluff, never an easy game. Anniston moving down from Class 5A, where they were a playoff team, be the first meeting ever. Hard for me to believe that White Plains and Anniston are actually going to play each other in varsity football. Cherokee County, who a lot of people are tabbing as the favorite in Class 4A Region 5. Jacksonville, another team that is loaded. We saw them here last weekend in spring football action, and they were very impressive in a spring game win against St. Clair County. And then you got Asheville, who is really coming along as well, and they're moving up from Class 3A back into Class 4A play. So that stretch, especially from, say, late September into the middle of October, where you're going to Westbrook, to Anniston, to Center to play Cherokee County, and to play at Jacksonville. I mean, that stretch there, especially the Anniston, Center, Jacksonville stretch, that is brutal. That's as tough, Chase, of a 3-game stretch as anybody in 4A football in this state's going to have this year right there.
Compared to last year's schedule for White Plains, what does this look like after all the reclassification?
Well, you know, it's basically about the same. You know, as far as region play goes, you know, Cleburne County moved up to Class 5A, and then you also lost Sardis and Crossville out of that. And then you bring in, though, Aniana and Asheville, and you also bring in Anniston. So I think as far as toughness, you know, you'll lose you're losing a Cleburne County. You're losing Sardis and Crossville, but you're bringing in Aniana and Anniston, right, and then bringing in Asheville. I think, if anything, probably as far as region play, it got tougher. And then you're, in essence, on your non-region play, you're kind of replacing Pleasant Valley with a Walter Welborn there. So, if anything, I think overall, both in region and out of region, I think White Plains' schedule is tougher than it even was last year.
Well, let's take a look now at the Sachs Wildcats 2016 schedule, and they'll be open on that week 0 as well on August the 19th, and then they'll open up at home against the Welborn Panthers on the 26th. Then they'll go to Jacksonville. They'll host White Plains. They'll go to Asheville, host St. Clair County. They'll travel up the road to Cherokee County on September the 30th. They'll host Anniston on October 7th, go to Aniana, then host Hoax Bluff on the 21st, and wrap the season up at Weaver on the 28th.
And again, they're taking the week 0 as their open date. So once they begin on August 26th, they'll play 10 straight games. Non-region play, the traditional opener, which is always a great atmosphere, Welborn and Sachs. The game this year will be out at Jack Stewart Field at Sachs, and that'll be another great game between two backyard rivals. St. Clair County is a team that they have played the last 2 or 3 seasons in their fall jamboree. Now it will be a regular season game at Sachs. And then, of course, you've got Weaver. That in the past has been the mid-season non-region game. Now they'll move that to the end of the regular season, and that game will be out at Bill Bryan Stadium at Weaver. And again, you got same region, obviously, as White Plains. These two teams will meet again very early in the season. September the 9th, they'll play out at Jack Stewart Field. But again, you look at that stretch, same kind of deal as White Plains, from late September to the middle of October, that 3-game stretch beginning September 30th and going through October 14th. I think that's going to tell where Sachs winds up as far as being in the playoffs, and where they wind up if they make the playoffs, where they are, whether they're 1, 2, 3, or 4. That's when you go to Center to take on Cherokee County, Anniston at home, and then you go play at Aniana. And let me just tell you, that game on October the 7th between Sachs and Anniston, that is going to be a huge, huge football game. Anniston moving down from 5A to 4A. They have not played in several years. Those two schools, the line kind of, the school lines are right next to each other. Every one of these players know each other, if not related to each other. There is a big rivalry there anyway. and they haven't played in football in the last couple of years. Now they're going to play actually on the field. That is going to be an awesome game. That has the potential, I think, to become the biggest rival game in Calhoun County is Anniston and Sachs. So it'll be a great atmosphere coming up on October the 7th.
All right, well, we're going to grab a timeout. When we come back, we'll be back for half number 2 as Sachs leads 28-0 here at halftime in the Calhoun County Spring Jam on TV24.
For over 15 years, Mizell Heating and Air Conditioning has provided superior year-round comfort for you and your family. And no matter what kind of system you have, now is a great time for a tune-up to make sure it runs smoothly all season long. And if it's time for a new one, we're the Ream team, offering energy-efficient Ream heating and cooling systems that will save you money on your energy bills every month. From service calls to a complete replacement, you can count on Mizell Heating and Air Conditioning to do it right. First time, every time.
Water is in a bit of trouble. Suspected of carrying harmful pollutants into community storm drains, stormwater faces a serious problem. When it rains, dirt, motor oil, excess fertilizer, and trash are washed into rivers, lakes, and streams. And a clean raindrop becomes an unwilling accomplice in the problem of water pollution. It's up to each of us to do our part. Visit cleanwatercampaign.com to learn more. Help protect our water.
For the finest quality foods and hundreds of specials every week, shop at Dorsey's Supermarket in downtown Oxford. Dorsey's has been your home for the highest quality and freshest meat in town since 1985, and nobody beats their famous Pick 5 deal. Mix and match your 5 favorite meat selections and pay only $19.99. And now you can enjoy your meat fresh out of the smoker. Pick up your smoked butts, ribs, or wings today. Dorsey's Supermarket, Main Street in Oxford.
Back here at Burgess Snowfield, Jacksonville State University. There you see a beautiful afternoon, a little wind there as you see the wind blowing through the American flag, but nonetheless a beautiful afternoon, John, for some high school football.
I was up early this morning doing a little weed eating outside and some yard work, and I noticed the breeze was pretty stiff out there, and that has not subsided any, but it's a warm breeze. We're expected to hit about 80 degrees, probably 80 out there right now. As we said earlier, if you want to soak up some sun, forget going to the beach. This is a lot better than the beach. High school football, come out here to Jack State and watch high school football, local high school football. That is much better than any beach, Chase, in my opinion. I know I'm in the minority on that, but
we're getting ready for half number 2 between Sachs and White Plains, with Sachs up 28-0, and there you see the Wildcats warming up, and they're really looking to get something going here as the varsity will play this third quarter, and then we'll see in the fourth quarter some junior high and some JV guys come in the game.
It's one thing I like about the format of this Calhoun County Spring Jam is the fact that you get a good look at your varsity players, and I would imagine in this quarter we'll see a little bit more of the second and third teamers coming in. So you get a good, solid look, and especially with two teams that have a lot of new guys, you want to get a good, solid look at those guys. And so you get that opportunity, but then you reserve the fourth quarter so these young guys get a chance to play on turf and be on television and maybe see themselves make a play on the big video screen here and play in this atmosphere at a college stadium. So I really like that format where you've got the chance for everybody to get out there in this atmosphere, in this venue, to kind of show their stuff, so to speak.
We should be getting things underway here in just a minute as White Plains is huddled up, and good amount of people here this afternoon to watch some high school football.
Very nice. We've got a lot of clouds out there, but no rain expected. So what happens is we'll have bright total sunshine, and it's one of those days where those big white puffy clouds kind of go across the sun and kind of clouds up there for a little bit and get you out of the sun, and then a few minutes later the sun's back in full force. One of those kind of spring afternoons here at JSU. A lot of folks bringing their umbrellas, not because of the rain. No rain in the forecast. If you want to come out and watch, don't forget we've got another game behind this one, but those folks are trying to shield themselves from the sun with all the umbrellas here. We talk about game number 2, another full game coming up with the same format, 3 varsity quarters and a JV quarter between Pleasant Valley. Jonathan Nix heading into season number 2. Taking on the Pisgah Eagles. There's always the 7 Calhoun County school system teams and then an invited team from the outside. And this year, that invited 8th team is the Pisgah Eagles, coming from up in Jackson County in northeast Alabama. Anthony Jacks, the former head coach at B.B. Comer down in Sylacauga a couple of years ago. Last year was an assistant coach at Pelham over in Shelby County. Now just named, literally less than 2 weeks ago, was named the head football coach at Pisgah. Their coach, there's Pleasant Valley, who's already arrived here, getting a shot of them as they're coming into Burgess Snow Field. You see them on the outside of the stadium here. A good shot at them as they're arriving. But they actually, Pisgah's coach actually took a job as an assistant at Plainview on the 24th of April. And so literally just 2 weeks ago, they named Anthony Jacks as the new head football coach. And I'm telling you, in that amount of time, there's no way you even know the player's name. So it's going to be an interesting situation to see Pisgah coming here with totally a brand new coach who hasn't even been on the job for about 2 weeks.
Well, we still got a half a play in this one as White Plains will kick off to Sachs to begin half number 2 here in the Calhoun County Spring Jam. Ball's all set up. We're getting the right personnel out on the field, and we'll get this half underway.
Speaking of Pleasant Valley, they have been the host here of the Calhoun County Spring Jam, so they're the folks that are manning the chains over there on the sidelines, manning the ticket booths, concessions, running the gates out there and the parking and all that. And they've done from what I can tell the last couple of days, Chase, they have done a really great job in game management of making this thing happen.
Ball in the air, and it is caught, so Sachs will take over on offense now to start the second half as they lead 28-0 over White Plains. And this is a game you'll see in the regular season as well as we saw at halftime as we looked at the schedules for both teams.
I want to mention to folks, a lot of folks out and about on a beautiful day. You may be running errands, working in the yard. You may be a lot of things on the agenda. We want to tell you that you can watch these games live streaming at TV24.tv. So wherever you are today, if you can't make it out here to the stadium, maybe you have to leave the recliner today, wherever you go, you can watch it at TV24.tv streaming live.
Bell back in at quarterback. He hands off to Reddick, and they can't bring him down. He gets down to the 40 and picks up the first down.
Well, the last time Reddick and Jackson met each other, it was Jackson winning that battle as he stood up Reddick at the line of scrimmage. This time, it was Reddick taking Jackson for about a 7 or 8 yard ride, and he picks up the first down.
LaDerrick Bell, the upcoming junior at quarterback, he'll hand off again to Reddick. Picks up about 4 yards on that play. It'll be second down for Sachs. Bell fumbles the snap, picks it back up and gets it back to Reddick though, and picks up about 2 yards on the carry.
And that little delay just enough to allow the White Plains defense to recover and make a nice play after only a gain of about 2. Third down now coming. About 4 yards to go for the Sachs Wildcats.
Bell hands off again to Reddick, and he meets some White Plains players, but is able to escape and takes off across the 50 as the ball comes loose, and big number 75 for Sachs. That is Mario Thomas. Hops on the ball for Sachs.
That's only about a 10-yard run, but by my estimation, Chase Robinson, that is the best run I think we've seen by a running back today. escaped 2 or 3 tacklers behind the line of scrimmage, then pops outside, drags 2 or 3 more tacklers with him, and able to pick up about 10 yards in the first down. Great run by Rodney Reddick.
Bell hands off to Fletcher this time. Fletcher picks up the first down. He gets to the 30. He's keep going down to the 10, and he'll go all the way. Touchdown for the Sachs Wildcats.
I like Will Fletcher, showing us not only can he run over people. We saw him in the first half making some tough yardage, running over people, but watch this. Goes to the outside, big hole there. Great job by the offensive line, pancaking people, and then look at the speed. Outruns the entire White Plains defense to the end zone. I've seen probably 5 different guys that I don't think Jonathan Miller would be opposed to putting any of those guys in there at any time. They look to me about, and I'm counting the quarterback in this Bell, but it looks, by my estimation, like they've got about 5 different guys that can tote the football.
And we've seen them all plenty of times today. And there you see Corneo knocks down the extra point, so the lead is now 35-0 with Sachs on top, thanks to that touchdown by Will Fletcher, as we saw him some in the first half, and we've seen him in the second half. The Tony Sarah Ford scoring drive, 4 plays, 70 yards, 1:45.
Sachs picking up the first drive of the third quarter, just like in the first half. Very efficient offensively, using another big play that time for the touchdown.
Sachs will kick it off, and White Plains will be taking back over on offense. They'll do it for the first time this half.
To say that Sachs reloads every year, I think there's got to be a better word for just reloading. It's like they replenish the entire roster. They just plug these guys in. They're the same looking football team as they have been for the previous 4 years of the Jonathan Miller era there.
Another nice kick by Corneo down to about the 1-yard line, but the Wildcats will take over on their own 30.
And I think the thing that sometimes gets lost with Sachs is, they've got all the talent on the offensive side, and they make these big plays, and they throw up a lot of points with 35 here. But I think we neglect to talk about the other side of that scoreboard. Their defense is throwing a goose egg up.
And off to Howard, and he'll run right into that Sachs defense and be brought down. Lose about 5 yards on that play.
Jordan Brooks leading the way that time, and as soon as they snap the ball, there's 4 white jerseys right there, and we'll have a timeout going to be called by White Plains. After just one offensive play here in this third quarter, Chris White does not like the look he's seeing from his football team, so he calls a timeout almost immediately here within the first couple of minutes of play here in quarter number 3, as you see Coach White there talking to his football team, and that does not look like a pleasant conversation.
In the first half, we saw a couple of fumbled snaps from White Plains, some penalties that brought them way back, not able to convert. So I know here in this third quarter, Coach White really wants to see his offense pick up here on their first drive of the third quarter.
On the other side, Jonathan Miller, he's trying to think up something to be mad about with his team. They have played some outstanding football here. In a team that looks this sharp in the middle of May, if you're a Sachs fan, you have to be excited for that, what they're going to look like August 26th when Walter Welborn comes rolling in.
Snap to Rozelle. He's looking to pass. He'll take it himself across the 30, get back to the line of scrimmage on that carry.
Coach White mentioned talking with us at halftime about Rozelle had never started a game before. This is his first time playing quarterback. And I, to be honest with you, I've been pretty impressed by that young man. I think he's made some very good decisions. There have been a couple of fumbles here, ball handling situations and things like that. But for the most part, I think he's been pretty heads up, rolling out, been under a lot of pressure. But you can see a lot of potential in that young man as the future quarterback for the White Plains Wildcats.
Snap to Rozelle. He'll look to pass again. Fletcher comes up behind him, though, and brings him down, and he'll lose about 9 yards on that play.
You talk about eating someone up. Will Fletcher that time coming all the way from his backside defensive end spot, and here he comes. Watch him. Just a full sprint and then wraps up and just swallows the quarterback, Rozelle, for about an 8-yard loss. That guy, Will Fletcher's a football player.
It'll be 4th down for White Plains, so they'll be punting the ball to Sachs. As number 13, Brent Clark, was back. And there you see the Pleasant Valley Raiders getting to play. They'll play.
They've just discovered that they're up on the screen here.
They'll be playing next against Pisgah, as we mentioned a few minutes ago.
Now, first down and 10 from the 48-yard line.
We expect Pleasant Valley will have a nice crowd here, being the host of this, just about 8 miles down the road out in PV. And I'll be very surprised if we don't have a good crowd here from Pisgah. That's a school that is a strong community school, supports their football very well up there. So I think we'll have a nice crowd coming down here from Jackson County.
Hand off to Jonathan Cobb. He takes off. Fumbles the football, but it'll be Hughley that ends up with it, and he'll pick up the first down and gets to the about 40-yard line.
That fumble was so fluid, it looked like they planned it that way. It's just like as soon as the ball came out, Hughley was right there and said, oh, yeah, there's the football. I'll take it and run with it. There's the football. Out loose. Hughley just picks it up and gets about 2 or 3 more yards.
1st and 10. Handoff to number 10, Torres. He'll pick up about 8 yards on that carry.
No less than 5 different running backs, and that's not counting Bell at quarterback, who's also a fine runner as well. No less than 5 running backs that we've seen today, and they've all been very impressive for Sachs.
Reddick in the backfield next to LaDerrick Bell. He'll go to the ear this time, gets it off to Clark. Clark will be brought down about the 25-yard line. And a first down.
Another first down from Sachs. A lot of confusion for White Plains on defense that time as far as lining up. And it results in another first down for the Sachs Wildcats as the Wildcats had another short field. They began this drive at their own 49-yard line, another short field to work with, and they are on the move.
Here goes Reddick with the handoff. He'll get down to about the 14-yard line. And that's a great shot there from our cameraman down on the sideline, Tony Caveman Castaneda. His 54th birthday today. Happy birthday, Caveman.
Tony, I'm not going to sing to you. That's my birthday present to Tony, is I'm not going to sing to it.
LaDerrick Bell with a run there.
It's also my gift to all the viewers out there. I'm not going to sing. Tony does a great job on the sidelines and has for a long time in all kinds of weather. I've seen Tony when he had literally a heat stroke, and I've seen Tony in the coldest football game I've ever been in my life down at the Super 6 in Birmingham. Seen him in every condition. He's there through all of it.
Burgess with the pass there, get down to the 3-yard line.
Tackled by Nathan Jenkins. Just short of the first down, 3rd down and 1.
We have not mentioned, and we need to, this Sachs offensive line, because we mentioned all these backs and the great quarterback and the great receiver, but you don't do any of that without a great offensive line. The Sachs offensive line has been dominant as they open up another hole right there. You saw great blocking up front and another touchdown by Sachs.
That was Rodney Reddick with the handoff, and he took it into the end zone for another touchdown for the Sachs Wildcats here with a little over 6 minutes remaining here in the 3rd quarter.
That offensive line, big hole, just blowing folks out of there. A couple of guys up there, Jordan Brooks, 55. We mentioned the big guy, Mario Thomas, 75, just sealing off the blue jerseys. And another basically walk into the end zone by the Sachs Wildcats as they take that lead now up to 42-0 midway through the third.
Corneo extra point is good, and there you see that run once more as Reddick able to walk right into the end zone there as our Tony Sarah Ford scoring drive. 6 plays, 52 yards in 2 minutes and 14 seconds for the Sachs Wildcats.
Notice that the Pisgah Eagles, we mentioned them earlier, coming up in our next game here. They have arrived here at JSU Stadium. This will be the first time Pisgah's ever played in this venue. I know our county teams this is kind of old hat for them. They come up here and play every spring, half of the last 4 or 5 years. But for a team like Pisgah, this is the first time for those folks to play in this venue. So that'll be exciting. Some of their players starting to trickle in over there into the visiting dressing room here at JSU Stadium.
White Plains getting ready to take back over on offense. A lot of miscues on offense for the White Plains Wildcats, so they'll be looking here with 6 minutes remaining in the third quarter. See if they can get something done. A good drive, offensive drive for White Plains. Seeing if that can happen here in the third quarter.
At this point in time, just if you're White Plains and looking from their perspective, you're just trying to get something positive to happen, maybe get a score, maybe get a touchdown, maybe get some big plays and try to leave here with this last quarter and a half with a positive feeling as you go into the summer.
Blake Rozelle back in quarterback for the White Plains Wildcats. Fakes the handoff to Howard. He'll take it himself. Brought down quickly, though, at the 30-yard line.
That play right there may exemplify the team speed that Sachs has on defense more than any other play. Parker that time, defensive end, coming down the line and running down the White Plains Wildcats. I mean, they are as quick at the defensive line position and as much speed there as you'll see some teams have in the secondary.
5:35 and ticking the clock here in the third quarter. This is White Plains on offense. Snap to Blake Rozelle. He'll hand off to Charlie Huey. Huey again takes off, and he picks up about 6 yards on the carry there for White Plains.
Rodney Reddick did a great job coming in there for Sachs that time, almost like busting up a wedge on a kickoff. There were blue jerseys everywhere, and Reddick just throws himself into it. Look at that, goes through 2. You see that big forearm shiver he gave to 2 White Plains players to kind of pave the way for some of his teammates to come in and make the tackle.
It'll be third down for White Plains. As you see the Pisgah Eagles making their way up into the locker room. Hand off there to Peyton Morgan. He's quickly brought down.
You know, it's big for any high school player to come play in an environment like this, to play in a 25,000-seat stadium with turf and a big screen television and things like that, but especially if you are from a small rural community like Pisgah, Alabama, sitting there where there's just not much of a town there, very small rural place up in on top of Sand Mountain. For those folks to come and play in a place like this I think it's doubly exciting for those folks that come from those smaller schools.
It'll be fourth down for White Plains, so they'll be punting the ball, and Sachs will be taking over on offense here in just a second. Last trip on offense for Sachs ended in Rodney Reddick walking into the end zone for a touchdown.
You know, the scoreboard says 35-0 here, but it is 42-0. That is, it was 28-0 at the half, and then we saw the touchdown run by Reddick, and we also saw the touchdown run by Will Fletcher, the long one. So we actually are they're behind here a little bit with all the scoring by Sachs, but it is actually 42-0 is the score.
Have a new quarterback in for the Sachs Wildcats. That's Harley Burgess, but handoff will go to Jonathan Cobb, who picks up about 12 yards.
We've seen Cobb a couple of times. Small speedster, actually fell in the backfield but recovered and was actually able to gain enough for the first down. And we've seen him 2 or 3 times, and Cobb has been very impressive, the rising sophomore.
Harley Burgess, sophomore, in at quarterback for Sachs. The handoff once again goes to Cobb. He'll pick up about a yard on the carry.
See Harley Burgess there, the new quarterback in the game for Sachs. We have seen him punting the football. We've seen him a couple of times at playing some other positions for Sachs. Good looking quarterback there for the Sachs Wildcats.
Burgess in the backfield. Jonathan Cobb lined up to his right. And he'll hand the ball off to Cobb. Cobb takes off, breaks the tackle, and gets to about the 40-yard line.
Cobb cutting deep into that turf here at JSU Stadium. We'll see him kick up a lot of those rubber pellets right there. There's all kinds of the rubberized turf under that. You know, this turf, if you've never been on it before, is really made up of a lot of just little rubber pellets. You and I have been down there on that. And he kicked and displaced a lot of that time trying to make that cut up field.
Under 2 minutes remaining here in the third quarter. Sachs with the 42-0 lead over White Plains. There'll be a timeout called for the Sachs Wildcats, as we've seen a new quarterback already in the game for Sachs, and Harley Burgess. And we saw Jonathan Cobb getting his chance to run the ball here the last few plays.
1:50 to go. We'll go to the JVs at the end of this. We mentioned Pleasant Valley in, Pisgah in, coming up in our next game. Calling that game here on TV24 will be a voice who is no stranger at all to JSU Stadium. Carl Brady will be along with another voice that's very familiar to folks here in East Alabama with Jay Hall. And Chase is going to be here, so Chase will be here with Carl Brady. But Carl is the voice of JSU Stadium and calls the action here on Saturday for the Jacksonville State Gamecocks, and he will be bringing you the action coming up in game number 2 between Pisgah and Pleasant Valley. But Chase, still 1:50 to go in this one. And as far as varsity goes, and then we'll go to the JVs and get some younger guys in, get to call some of those guys' names.
Burgess back in at quarterback for Sachs. We're getting everybody back on the field after that timeout called by Coach Miller and the Wildcats of Sachs. Good look at number 14, Harley Burgess, in at quarterback for Sachs. He'll take the snap, hand off to Watkins, who picks up the first down and then some. Jacorius Watkins, number 1 for Sachs.
You could see that play coming. Watkins, as soon as they snapped the ball, just in a dead sprint, and he got a great block over there. Jonathan Cobb, we called his name a couple of times running the football, but a great block over there on that end as he totally kicked out the White Plains defender and opened up a huge hole to allow Watkins to turn the corner and pick up yet another Sachs first down.
Jonathan Cobb in the backfield behind quarterback Harley Burgess. And he'll hand off, or he'll fake the handoff, and he'll take it himself. He'll pick up about 2 yards. Will quarterback Harley Burgess.
Burgess, nice shifty move at the line of scrimmage to avoid the tackle of Charlie Huey. Didn't pick up a whole lot, but avoided a loss and picked up about 2 or 3 yards for Sachs.
About a minute left here in the third quarter in the varsity portion of this game. We'll get to see again some younger guys coming up in this final quarter. Snap to Burgess. He'll hand the ball off, but quickly brought down was Jonathan Cobb of Sachs.
Three very impressive quarters by the Sachs Wildcats. I think anybody in Class 4A Region 5 who thought the Wildcats were going to go anywhere, they're not going anywhere. This is a team that is going to be right in the thick of things once again as far as that region race goes, coming up starting in August.
Snap to Burgess, goes to the air to Jonathan Cobb, but it'll be incomplete with 5 seconds remaining here in the third quarter. Be fourth down for Sachs, so they'll punt it away.
A punt likely to be the last play of this quarter, likely to be the last play of the varsity portion of this game.
Charlie Huey and Garrison Abbott back to receive for White Plains.
Penalty flag.
There'll be a delay of game call on the Sachs Wildcats. So I'll bring them back 5 yards. And the punt is up from Sachs. And that will do it for the third quarter.
The White Plains Wildcats will take over first and 10 from the 9-yard line.
So that'll do it for the varsity portion of this game, and the junior varsity will come to the field here in just a few minutes as Sachs leads 42-0 over the White Plains Wildcats here on the 2016 Calhoun County Spring Jam. We'll be back in just a minute here on TV24.
My name is Reverend Jeffrey C. Williams, the owner and licensed funeral director of Anderson Funeral Services. At Anderson Funeral Services, we are compassionate and caring individuals committed to providing quality and professional service at affordable prices. We are where service begins and never ends, and love is what love does.
Aniston Funeral Services offers affordable services to meet any need for all families. Aniston Funeral Services, 630 South Wilmer Avenue, where service begins and never ends.
I am Wilbur.
Estoy en Welburn.
I am Wilbur.
I am Welburn.
I am Wilbur.
I am Welburn. I am Welburn.
I am Wilbur.
I am Welburn.
I am Wilbur.
I am Welburn.
We are Wilbur.
For over 15 years, Mizell Heating and Air Conditioning has provided superior year-round comfort for you and your family. And no matter what kind of system you have, now is a great time for a tune-up to make sure it runs smoothly all season long. And if it's time for a new one, we're the Rheem team, offering energy-efficient Rheem heating and cooling systems that will save you money on your energy bills every month. From service calls to a complete replacement, you can count on Mizell Heating and Air Conditioning to do it right. First time, every time.
Back here at the Calhoun County Spring Jam, we got the Sachs Wildcats and the White Plains Wildcats doing battle here as we begin the fourth quarter, and that is the JV portion of the game here as Sachs up 42-0 during the varsity portion as a flag was thrown on that play. White Plains on offense. We saw the penalty there, so it'll be second down for the Wildcats.
A couple of good-looking runs by White Plains JV. Colton Howard had a good run. I think that was Walker Surrett with that last run. But that last one negated by the penalty, and so White Plains will back it all the way up inside their 15 to about the 12 with a long second down to go.
Ryan Bannister in at quarterback for the White Plains Wildcats. And the handoff will.
The ever popular Pigskin Roundup touchdown t-shirts presented by Core Sports. We've got some to throw out here at JSU Stadium. There's the White Plains cheerleaders making some White Plains fans happy, as we always do on the football Friday nights, and those t-shirts will be back in full force again on Friday nights wherever you see the Pigskin Roundup crews. Folks happy to get the t-shirts here at JSU today. That guy's real excited. Made his day.
White Plains on offense now with 10:50 remaining in the game. Handoff there to Colton Howard is brought down about the line of scrimmage.
Howard again, a nice looking run, stood up and then slammed down at about the 20-yard line, but not before picking up about 8 yards.
Quarterback Ryan Bannister was able to get the ball away right before he got hammered. Good play there by the Wildcats.
One change as we go to the fourth period. We had the live punting and the live kicking going on in the varsity end, but there will not be punting going on. That's the reason the ball is not a penalty. That was actually White Plains electing to punt the football, so it's a 35-yard punt, I believe. In the JV part, they're not going to do punting. They'll just have a standard 35-yard punt, so to speak, as they move it down the field.
They'll take over on the 45-yard line. The Sachs Wildcats will. So we see some JV guys take the field for the first time here for the Sachs Wildcats. It'll be Tyshawn White in at quarterback, an upcoming freshman for the Sachs Wildcats. Snap is high, and it looks like the ball's still loose, but White Plains will take possession of the ball. We saw something like that similar in the first half for White Plains, and Sachs jumped on the ball, but you'll see the Wildcats jumping on the ball there.
All kinds of blue jerseys, but I think the one who came out of there with it for White Plains was Austin Bussey. Bussey recovering that fumble, so this is by far the best opportunity that White Plains has had, varsity or junior varsity, at scoring as they set up shop inside the 30 of Sachs.
Bannister with a handoff to Howard. Howard will get it to about the 21-yard line, about 2 yards short of the first down.
Howard's picked up some good yards. He's looked very good here in the junior varsity part of this. As you said, Chase picking up 8 yards on that play. By far the deepest penetration White Plains has had all afternoon long.
It'll be second down and about 2 or 3 yards to go. Bannister takes the snap and gets the handoff to number 9, Ethan Bozarth.
White Plains picks up the first down now inside the 20 for the first time all day long. So as we talked about, if you're White Plains, whether it be JV or whether it be varsity, you're just looking for something positive to happen, maybe get a score, take something positive out of this game as you go into the off season in July.
First down, Bannister takes the snap. He hands off to number 23, Walker Surratt. And Surratt is brought down.
It was a lot different, Chase, than it used to be years ago. Years ago, you had longer summers, so school didn't start till after September. And so for the most part, you had not much going on with football years ago in the summertime. You had basically some weightlifting, maybe some running, conditioning things going on. But now, and the rules are even more lax than they used to be with some new competition rules coming this summer. Basically, they can have 3 weeks of 7-on-7 competition play. So the opportunity for a team like a White Plains to really improve over the summer, not just get bigger and stronger, not just get into good physical condition, but the chance to actually improve with the timing between quarterback and receivers, the chance to actually learn the offense a little better, to actually get out and play football. Those opportunities are more than they've ever been now with Alabama High School Athletic Association. So it's made football kind of a year-round thing. In summertime, they've got 3 or 4 weeks, I think, in July where they can do 7-on-7 competition against guys other than themselves.
Howard quickly brought down there by number 20, T.J. Gibbs of Sachs. And that'll move them back to about the line of scrimmage.
4th down and about 7. The ball's at the 16-yard line, and Chase, they have to go just a hair inside the 9 to get a first down. So this is it for White Plains. Best scoring opportunity they've had all day long.
Bannister back to pass. Gets it down to Dawson Johnson for the touchdown for the White Plains Wildcats. They're on the board for the first time today.
Great news for White Plains. Johnson totally just rolled out into the flat, and he kind of got lost from the Sachs secondary. They lost track of him, and he was wide open for a long time. You could hear a lot of the White Plains fans up in the stands with our crowd mic saying, he's open, he's open. And he was open for quite some time, found him in the end zone. Touchdown, White Plains.
That'll be the first touchdown of the JV quarter here. The 4th quarter is just junior varsity, giving them a chance to play here. As the Wildcats will go for 2, but that attempt will be no good.
Ethan Bozarth slips down just behind the line of scrimmage. Our camera guys throwing them out, not just the cheerleaders. And they're raining T-shirts on the crowd here on this home side down in the club level seating area, those reserve seats there. We'll have more to give out in the next game as well between Pleasant Valley and Pisgah. You know, Jonathan Nix, the second-year coach out at Pleasant Valley, I ran into him, was talking with him for a while back a couple of weeks ago. We see some of the Pleasant Valley players sitting there. That's not all of them. Most of their varsity players are outside the stadium. He's telling me to have, as we look at the touchdown once again by White Plains. Wide open and just walks into the end zone, does Johnson. But you know, he was telling me that basically in their program out at Pleasant Valley, and this is unheard of, I think, at PV. He was telling me in the spring they've got about 95 players involved in their program out at Pleasant Valley. So the ones you see sitting in the stands there, that's probably the JV guys, I'm thinking. The varsity guys are all out there warming up under the trees out there behind the stadium. So big numbers out at Pleasant Valley.
It'll be Sachs taking back over on offense. We saw last time they had the ball here in the JV portion. It ended up with White Plains. Penalty flag thrown. Looks like some offsides movement there by the White Plains Wildcats.
Sachs looked like they were going to run that same speed sweep as Jacorius Watkins. Picked up some big yards in the first drive where that was coming again.
Watkins takes the ball, picks up the first down, and knocked out of bounds at about the 41-yard line.
I like the aggressiveness of Watkins. As soon as they snap the football, he is in a dead sprint on that speed jet sweep. Takes the ball, great block outside, then sheds another tackle, would-be tackle from Johnson, and goes down the sidelines and picks up the first down.
Tyshawn Wine at quarterback for the Sachs Wildcats JV. With 7 minutes remaining in this game. Snap to White. Handoff there to Jadarius Griffin. He'll pick up 6 yards on that play.
Just seems like an endless array of running backs for Sachs. Even when you get down to the JV level, they got some quality guys that Jonathan Miller is able to trot out there. We have seen no less, Chase, 7 different running backs that can play.
The snap to Tyshawn White. With the handoff again to number 7, Griffin. He'll run right into the White Plains defense. Six minutes remaining in this game, 42-6. It was 42-0 at the end of the varsity portion with Sachs on top, but White Plains has scored here in the JV quarter. There'll be a timeout called. Sachs Wildcats. Coach Miller wanted to take the timeout here.
Yeah, they had a lot of movement up there. I'm not sure that everybody knew exactly what the play call was and where they were supposed to line up, so they'll get that straightened out, and we'll have a timeout called. As it looks like that the Pisgah Eagles, as you see them, it's like they have changed into their game uniforms except for the shoulder pads, but they've got their pants on, and they are now coming out of the visiting dressing room and making their way into the stadium to kind of take in a little bit of the atmosphere before they have to play in our next game coming up in 5:44 of game time.
Pisgah taking on Pleasant Valley. And if,
they just discovered the video screen now. Kind of checking things out, and they just discovered themselves on the screen up there.
I want to remind you, all these games are streaming live at TV24.tv, so maybe you have to leave after this one. You want to catch that Pleasant Valley Pisgah game, you can watch that TV24.tv. Handoff this time, coming out of the timeout, goes to number 44 for Sachs. That's Leonte Jones. He'll be in the 8th grade next year.
And again, it just seems like an endless well of running backs that Jonathan Miller has from Sachs. He just keeps running different guys out there. We haven't even made mention of big number 33. He has not carried the ball yet. Jamil Garrett. I'd like to see him carry the ball because Garrett is listed as a sophomore, and he looks like he may be 220 or 30 pounds in the backfield. Looks like he's going to play a little linebacker here maybe.
So that was 4th down. So White Plains will take over on offense now. It'll be 1st down for the Wildcats, as Ryan Bannister will return out at quarterback, number 12. You see there on your screen for the White Plains Wildcats here on JV. I
want to remind the Sachs and Wildcats, Sachs and White Plains Wildcat fans that tuned in out there before you leave us. We will be out with our Pigskin Roundup magazine. That is out again. That will be coming out in August with all the information you need to know about high school football in East Alabama. And then also we will begin, I believe, our 13th season of the Pigskin Roundup on TV24 Friday nights again, beginning at 10:30 until 12:30 in the morning, live on TV24 beginning on Friday night, August the 19th.
It'll be here before you know it, John.
Only about 3 months, less than 3 months away.
Snap to Bannister. He'll look to pass. He sees an opening, and a pass incomplete there to Dawson Johnson.
Johnson already has a touchdown pass, and he almost had another big play. Almost became a monster day for Johnson.
Penalty flag also thrown on that play.
Penalty for an ineligible receiver downfield.
An eligible receiver there for White Plains. It'll be second down for the Wildcats.
Referee Robert Howell making the call. Robert's a Spring Garden guy, like yours truly. One of the top officials here in East Alabama.
Gregory Kirby, or I should say Walker Surratt there with the carry for White Plains, number 23 there.
It's been mainly Surratt and Howard carrying the ball in this JV portion for White Plains. We are expected to be joined after the game, as styles sure have changed over the years. Green cleats. Have not seen those before.
Pass incomplete to Ethan Bozarth of White Plains, and that'll bring up third down for the Wildcats.
I want to mention that we are expected to be joined after the game by Sachs head coach Jonathan Miller from down on the field, and we'll get his thoughts on the 2016 edition of the Sachs Wildcats. May have to ask him, Coach, is there anything that you were displeased with today?
That was fourth down, so that will White Plains elected to punt, so that will put Sachs Wildcats with the ball on the 45-yard line. Sun's out and a beautiful afternoon here in Jacksonville. We invite you to come on down. We have one more game to go. That'll be Pleasant Valley and Pisgah following this one.
The weather has been spectacular. Last weekend we had spring football, great weather Friday, Saturday, even Monday. We've had more Calhoun County Spring Jam, great weather Thursday, and then today could not ask for better weather. It's this Wildcat Sound, the Sachs High School Marching Band here in full force entertaining the folks this afternoon. Sachs had trouble getting the right personnel out on the field, so they have to burn another timeout.
3:27 remaining in the game. Again, White Plains the only team to score here in the JV fourth quarter as the pass to Dawson Johnson for the 6 points.
Looks like we got the T-shirts going out on the White Plains side now, as the White Plains Wildcats cheerleaders are also here throwing out some of the Pigskin Roundup touchdown T-shirts over there on the Sachs side. You know, one of the things that we kind of take for granted here, especially in Calhoun County and East Alabama, is we are in close proximity to a Division I university here at Jacksonville State University. And so for us that live in the community, live in this county, getting to come to Jacksonville and come on campus is not a big deal. But one of the things we discover with some of the teams that are outside this area who come here to play in some of these spring football games like a Pisgah is a lot of the coaches tell us, Chase, that it's a situation where so many of their young men have never even been on a college campus before. Anywhere. They've never been on a college campus. And that they come in here, and so, you know, we're seeing these dorms and academic buildings and the library and all these things that we kind of see on an everyday basis around this part of the state. But, you know, some of these folks that come in here have never even been on a college campus, and their kids are really wide-eyed. So it's a good experience for a lot of these teams that are coming from outside of our region to even not only playing in a Division I football stadium, but to be on a college campus at all.
Great experience for all these teams, and we're glad we get to bring all this great spring football to you here over the course of 5 days here on TV24. Tyshawn White there sacked by White Plains number 21, Colton Howard.
Gregory Kirby back there as well. Howard's been everywhere in this JV portion. A great job running the ball on offense and good defensive play that time as the clock continues to wind down toward the end. There'll be about probably a half-hour gap, something like that, 20 to 30-minute gap, as they'll have a chance there for Pleasant Valley and Pisgah to warm up and get ready for their full game.
In 2:15 and ticking here between Sachs and White Plains.
I'm going to let you figure that out, Chase, right there. ESPN, Auburn, Taco Bell. I know some of our guys out there, will be a trivia question. On one of those signs, they have the NWO. You know what NWO stands for? Do you know what
No,
NWO?
I do not.
I know we got guys in our crew that know about that. Yeah. You have to be a wrestling fan. You have to have a little age on you to know what the New World Order is. I knew we had some guys in our crew that would know what the NWO was. But how those all relate together, I'm gonna have to pick Jonathan Miller's brain, see if he can give me a little insight into what all these combinations of Auburn, Taco Bell, 2+9, a pink square, what all that stuff means without giving away any of their inside secrets. If he can just give me a hint of what some of those combinations mean.
And you see a look at those cards there and all kinds of stuff on there. Interesting. Minute 9 remaining here in this game. White Plains Wildcats on offense now.
We have an illegal substitution against Sachs. And if there's one thing, we talked about what Jonathan Miller might complain about, might not be happy about, is in the junior varsity part of this, the substitution and who's supposed to be in the game, the personnel moving in and out. That might be the one thing he might be displeased with.
Handoff this time goes back to Ethan Bozarth. And he'll pick up the first down for the Sachs Wildcats.
Quite a collision between Bozarth and Hughley. They both hit each other full blast, both falling to the ground. Big collision out here on this near sideline. Stoppage in play. They're going to make big number 75. Will Osteen come out of the game for White Plains. And that might be a little cut. I think he's got a little cut on his leg, so maybe a little blood there, and they're trying to get that cleaned up.
Number 74, Tanner Kuhn, comes in the game for him. As Ethan Bannister breaks the huddle, looking to get something done here on offense. For White Plains, 45 seconds remaining. Snap to Bannister. Handoff goes to Mac Young. Get back to the line of scrimmage.
And that possibly could be the last play of the game.
About 10 seconds remaining. Let's see if White Plains, looks like they'll let the clock run down. 3, 2, 1, and that'll do it. White Plains scoring here in the final junior varsity quarter, here in the fourth quarter, but it was Sachs 42-0 in the varsity portion of this game. And again, we're going to speak with Coach Jonathan Miller here in just a few minutes when we get him mic'd up.
Well, both teams showing good sportsmanship, shaking hands. And they will meet back up with each other, I think, what did we say, September the 9th, when they will meet at Jack Stewart Field in the regular season. That'll be a 4A Region 5 contest. These will be different football teams by then. Probably both will be much improved by then after a full summer and fall practice and a couple of games under their belt by that time. The birthday boy, Tony Castaneda, will round up Jonathan Miller of Sachs here in just a couple of moments, and we'll give a few words from him, and then we'll be off to game number 2. You'll be hanging around here with Carl Brady, and you'll have that Pleasant Valley Pisgah game, which ought to be real interesting, especially from the Pisgah perspective with a coach who's only been on the job less than 2 weeks in Anthony Jacks.
Saw a lot from the Sachs Wildcats today, John, like we've been talking about a lot on the running the football for Sachs. Still waiting here to get a word with Coach Jonathan Miller. And then we'll set the stage for the next game. They put about 20 minutes on the clock before the Pleasant Valley Pisgah game. So we'll stay here and we'll preview that one for you. We'll wrap this one up, but we're first talk to the winning coach from Sachs, Jonathan Miller, here momentarily.
Nice crowd here. I think the Sachs fans especially have a lot to look forward to going into the summer, and White Plains fans need to take heart. They've got some good young talent. They just need some, as Coach White said at halftime of our game, just need some playing time, some experience under their belts, and looks like they'll be very competitive as they head into the fall. And I think you'll see the thing about it with a young football team is you see vast improvement. You see a lot of improvement very rapidly, Chase, when you have a young football team. And
what a great experience to come out here, especially White Plains. A lot of young guys get to come out here in a spring game and get to shake off some of those nerves as we're getting Coach Miller mic'd up here.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and go down. I believe we're set with Sachs High school football coach Jonathan Miller. Coach, this is John Holder and Chase Robinson from TV24. Appreciate you spending some time with us. And your team, I don't want to use the word reloaded, but it looks like that you at least replenished in a lot of positions. Some of the guys you missed from last year at some positions, you look very strong at those same positions again here this afternoon.
Well, I tell you what, John, we lost a lot of guys off our team last year, replacing 16 starters. So a lot of new faces out there. We're proud of those guys, how they came out and competed today. And we're excited about some of their future. You know, a lot of those guys are young guys. We had a lot of sophomores out there playing today and an 8th grader. So, you know, we're excited about their future, and they did a good job for us this spring.
Coach, it just seems like over the years that you just have this, it's almost like you have the same looking guy, the same prototype guy at quarterback each and every year, and it looks like you found another one. We were very impressed with LaDerrick Bell. He looked like a guy that had just been out there and done this for 2 or 3 years. Very, very cool, calm, and collected. Great arm, great legs. Looks like you got another great quarterback coming along.
Well, I tell you what, LaDerrick had a great spring for us. He's only been with us for a season, so, you know, he's improved a lot. And, you know, he looked smooth out there today running the offense. And we're excited about his future. And the best part is he's a sophomore, so he'll have a couple years with us in the offense. The past few years we've had a senior at quarterback. And, you know, thankfully and hopefully we won't have to replace a quarterback after next season.
The number of running backs, we counted, and getting into the JV part of it, I think you probably had 7 or 8 different guys that carried the football, and all those guys look like quality backs. You certainly have a lot of depth and a lot of talent at the running back position.
Well, we're excited about our running back spot. A lot of those guys are underclassmen again, and we're excited about their future. They worked hard in the weight room, and you know, they're all good kids and they compete, and we got to hold on to the football a little bit better. But other than that, you know, they had a solid day out there today.
Before we let you get out of here and get with your team over there, we were joking up here. Is there anything that Jonathan Miller is going to be displeased with about the performance today? So I don't know what it would have been. You were very impressive today, but some negatives. What are the things that maybe you were displeased with, if anything, today that you need to work on over the summer?
Well, we had a few penalties. just a little sloppy early on. I think we had a lot of guys that were nervous, a lot of new starters, as we said. So just a little sloppy early. I thought a lot of guys settled in and played a lot better as the game went by. But, we can erase some of those penalties and blew a couple coverages early. But other than that, we played all right.
Coach, we're excited. I know you are about the season coming up. It looks like you've got another great football team, so we look forward to this fall. Thank you for joining us here after the game.
Thank you, John.
Jonathan Miller, head coach of the Sachs High School Wildcats, and very impressive chase here this afternoon.
They get the 42-0 win of the varsity portion. White Plains scored in the junior varsity, so 42-6 your final. Sachs over White Plains. We're going to grab a timeout, and we'll get you ready for Pleasant Valley and Pisgah about 15 minutes away here at the Calhoun County Spring Jam on TV24.